Okay. All evidence is practical for clarity. I value morality. Nature defines who it is by acting upon a reason for choosing an end, but reason cannot account for itself alone. It is required seeing externally would. The summons presents with action in our consciousness to act freely, to act response to reason, not causally necessity. A good reason explains why do never takes away the possibility otherwise. Reason for acting is only given to a not containing understanding of reason on free activity. Only another rational being cannot comprehend self-activity without being that's capable of concept of that concept. The summons of the object is that object to which a reason for free action first be given another. Is a transcendental condition of awareness of reason acting. Being given reason is not causal influence. One way course to condition not enabled to act autonomously. Ascribing agency involves ascribing the same capacity other rational beings to the inner subjectivity the precondition action of myself. No objection to deny another freedom. They possess the same right thou deny my right. I'm allowed or will because the contradiction by willing world which is denied. Will is denied or clashing out with resolution. All kinds of provisional bond or public right. Kant. But I will the things you bind declared obligatory members frames using the object include a scam reciprocally about excess similar to what's there. I'm not bound to leave another untouched. The enemy is not here to me. They will act with the same principle. This contains the concept of universality, reciprocity, obligation, respect to external possession. Unilateral will cannot solve the law for everyone. That be violation of freedom. Only collective universal powerful will provide the guarantee being subject to public understanding in civil society. This direct consistency of universal reason. The plaintext of the United Net for organ sharing in contract with the U.S. federal government implants a hard opt-out system under which those who not opt out receive priority for organ transplantation. We're going to clarify Robertson. Individuals join the organ suppliers, potential suppliers, and recipients on an opt-out basis. All people who practice civil society remove themselves. Those who only the eligible surplus organs. UNS creates a national registry of core people's preferences. They are replacing fragmented state by state system. Finally, medical profession sees the practice of asking next of kin for the organs of loved ones. I defend acceptance of the mentally disabled and minors. That's part of normal means in many places. Tarosky. Both Belgium seeking for take the opportunity to exclude certain vulnerable donors presumed consent programs. Mentally disabled adults versus the assumption you default a consent to receive organs. Person out of fit state consent. This creates asymmetry. The same default is not placing individuals as organ donors. Eaten. The availability of organs is reduced because conservatives by family. In case where prior wishes are not known, relatives against the choice of deceased, they don't feel comfortable. In a medical emergency, relatives do not hesitate to act, presumed dies, no caution exhibited. The patient would consent. A default of the patient murder of life extending transplant. The asymmetry results in the failure to recognize the interdependency in all persons prior to any person becoming a potential donor recipient. And opting out system gives the person a right to moral value and equally favorable terms any of the recipient should need an organ transplant. This in the 8 is the universal saying not donating will imply that no one should donate, so no organs to transplant to me except in order to not be living the implication to maximize subject myself to actually be obligated toward my incapacity to identify illness causing organ failure. The B point is that fear to use those who do donate as mere means. Ripstein. Violation of public space consists failing to your part, not policies sustaining and negatively taken for private purposes. The content brands reciprocity are all in it together. The innate or guarantee is an obligation for active purpose and others. Social cooperation to your proper others not. The truth is a mere means but achievement of their purpose. You did their proper rather do theirs to take advantage of your effort. This violates the sum of their freedom extends to the cause of limitations, generous means of others. The plan solves. Eaten 2. Those prepared to be recipients with willingness to donors or free rights to benefit without consenting to contribute. The decision to opt out express preparedness to be free. The liberal state must allow the position of free rights to have the consequences. The person who is free or liable to discriminate against the allocation of organs with limited resource be allocated. The free should be penalized. Free writing must only contemplate situations clinic can use no advantage to give out transplanting one recipient rather than another. Second, the state resolve clash of neighbor. Express the freedom like wills require safe right interpretation. No binding will of state nature because wills require promulgated norms. The firm resolves in clear defining clear default. Allowing people to navigate the issue before they die. Not allowed deciding when to utilize their body. Presuming that is better whether or not you actually wish to donate. English. People are ignorant of the relatives' gender views about donation. Relatives frequently off the default not to donate. Many relatives refuse to probably agree to donation, not hold an objection. If a distance has been made quickly, temptation of relatives resort to the established default. Relatives at time of emotional appeal may not relatives being asked to decide in the absence of wish of the deceased. The main purpose of making the decision less than relatives. Currently, individuals strongly object to donation, lack of formal mechanism for registering objection. No guarantee the relatives not act contrary to the strong views of the deceased person, lack of knowledge or lack of agreement. And opting out system to eventually register or enhance autonomy for those who do not want to be donors. Third, the role of the state is to facilitate us as free. We have an imperfect duty to give organs as well, not donation, restrict the capacity set to present, one to have organ failure. They have no organs to transplant, so not undermines the donativity, contradiction of the will. Given the freedom, consistency, love by reason, not by inclination or desire, the state afforded nothing is toward right actions, nothing goes toward freedom. Altman. The law cannot force people to do the right thing and to shape their choices. Certain restrictions decrease the value of use freedom rightly. Being constrained or reason is to autonomy. You can never be pulled on whatever inclination we happen to have. True freedom is the right kind of limitation. Restricted for the right to dispose of property. Presuming that what occurs is to do the right thing. Some people don't opt out due to purpose. These people will not choose to donate anyway. They'll be able to opt out with lazy after matter. Not choosing to donate is important for deed enough for the sake of deeding. Opting out system makes it more likely people perform the right action, whether done for the right reason. Next is framework specifics. First, morals must be a priori because the world is not known but assessed as good as an analyzed materiality. We can only ask our interpretation of the physical world. Kant 2. Our intuition is not the good appearance of things that not themselves we intend to be real, not subject. All relations of space and time, space and time themselves just appears appearance of object cannot exist themselves. Well, in the inner precluded that X nothing except for perceiving, which is not pertaining to every being. Optical illusions escape us because senses only work in convenience. Morals have to be a priori, otherwise A can't be skipped or required. B everything of material world is already determined, not normative. Kant 3. Love cannot be commanded, but beneficent for duty may. They are not impelled to any inclination. The seed in the will, it alone can be commanded. The second action done for duty rises more worth than maxima, which is determined. Worth cannot lie elsewhere. The principle of will, because the will stands to our priori principle, and opposite your spring principle must be determined by the former principle. When action is done for duty, every material principle has been withdrawn. Under review. First. Negative use always attributes only a 4-minute one-year means can't recover my capacity. Negative attributes skewed. Negative pick the optimal strategy against every alpha. Committed with plenty of strategic investments going the 1 year. Negative potential rejoinder allows you to alter fairness to your strategy in relation to the app. Means I wait because already picked the strategy. You have the choice to shift. Second, use reasonability on topicality. No interpretation is perfect. Always find modification of a topical rule in debate, which outweighs the competing interpretation that can never choose the interpretation further. Even if my app is slightly inferred, it's justified the ability to frame debate and establish constructive ground, which outweighs judge intervention because I can't even read an advocacy of competing interests too. The threshold of reasonability, existence of lit for both sides. The card itself, if you have good labels, the system must opt out. In discourse with the plan to consolve, you have good 3 weeks before the turn. It's basic preparation. The 8 one is in no position at the time to equal topically. The existing topically means my both sides prefer to engage in debate. The being topically is based on choosing interpretation. Generally, ponder what I haven't defined as opposed to what you do. Under committee interpretations and arguments, 100% non-reciprocal. Can't in the one. I have to take some interpretation stances. So I'm always open to seeing both of every issue. I always know that this has the arguments inherent to the structure of theory around the speculative substantive use. Third, presume consent even if not rigidly enforced, statistically significant effect on organ procurement, obity, and gain. Legislative defaults to donation may affect instead of not enforced. Use simple models to illustrate presume consent laws made for organ donation rates. Using a panel of 22 countries, other determinants are accounted for. Category donation rate of 25% third, higher on average. The magnitude of the estimate is not very much. Which is the presence of added fixed effect. The results of the articles that presume laws may alleviate organ shortages. Fourth, that policing discourse is bad. Putting up making moral judgment that the intolerability of something is itself intolerable and excludes moral ideas about that not perfect. You have some value in the world. Also, fairness and factor in criticisms. Galway. Debate is a dialogue that allows for each party to receive fair opportunity to voice their position. Take the role regarding each topic as a starting point of departure. According to fairness, one side including the other. The person of others desire to be fair, takes a form of demand to equality, fairness, debate to be heard back, but research, critical thinking. Mark the card there. Fifth, consequentialist theories make the round unsafe for certain voices. Cannot be committed to the conclusion that anything, even oppression or torture, is intrinsically bad. But bodies who experience those things presumably cannot operate or debate under that assumption. Anscombe, if you're consequential, the question of what to write in such and such circumstances is stupid one. Hopefully not be permissible. That you say that otherwise cannot prescribe the circumstances might set all sort of possibilities. You can't know whether you're going to be. Now the consequence cannot say this will be permissible. This not because consequences aside, and they have no business pretending they can lay down whatever possible choice one can give to doing this or that. That's what I from.
Okay. Ready for CX?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the last argument you made about consequentialist theories being bad?
For certain debaters.
Why?
So the argument is that if you are a consequentialist, you cannot be committed to the conclusion that any action is intrinsically bad. It's the consequences that decide whether or not something is bad, which seems problematic because for those who have experienced those types of actions, which are obviously morally repugnant to us, they are not in a position to debate under the assumption that those things are not, in fact, intrinsically bad. So the reason why consequentialism or the notion that...
How is that worse than the AF being able to exclude impacts like death?
Well, the difference here is that Deant would at least say that the deaths of, say, like 100 people is a bad thing objectively, right?
So
it may not be
AF
permissible.
Would say that the death of people is bad.
Yes, it does, but
so
it contextualizes it in a different way.
Now I have another question.
Okay.
If I turn supply, is that sufficient to win?
No, the supply is in an underview. I don't care about increasing.
You just talked about things being repugnant. How is it? Oh, if I turn supply and show that more people would die in a system of presumed consent, how is that justifiable by the arguments you make about us having an obligation to reject?
Because the framing that you use to justify that assumption, namely that's the consequences of a policy that make a difference about whether or not it's legitimate or good, is an assumption that certain people in this debate space cannot challenge because that is an assumption that disputes that notion that anything is bad in and of itself.
Okay, that's fine.
So, is it not clear? Like, for example,
no,
like torture or something should be intrinsically bad, right?
Okay.
If you've experienced torture, you cannot operate under the assumption that torture bad is only determined by the consequence.
If I turn supply, could the AF say that something else is more important?
Supply is completely unimportant.
Why?
Because I don't care about.
You say you defend the implementation of presumed consent.
Yes, but you won't commit me to the conclusion that the results of that policy are somehow important in like a normal sense.
So is the AF like intent space?
Yes.
Cool. Can we intend consequences?
I don't understand. Yes, you will from your ends to your means, but it doesn't really matter whether or not you achieve.
Another question.
Yes.
If I know that if I slapped you it would hurt, then is that not me intending a consequence?
Well, yeah, slapping me would be bad under Kant, but not for the reason you think, right? It would be bad because you're extending your freedom at the cost of a limitation of my own. It's not bad because it like hurts me and causes me pain. So they're two different justifications, right? So if it's true that we need to look to universal law, then nobody
Wait, does that
will
mean the same thing would apply for letting someone die, universally willing everyone to die? Wouldn't that be the same argument? Because you just said that the reason I wouldn't slap you is because that would mean I would have to universally will that I could slap everyone else. So wouldn't the same thing apply to letting people die? Because if we let someone die, you would say, oh, but it's not because of you till it's for a different reason. Why would letting someone die not apply to the argument you just made?
Yes, so you have an imperfect duty of beneficence, but the point is that it cannot come at the cost of the limitation of another person's freedom, right? Because the notion that consequences matter is a notion that is grounded in a contradiction that has already occurred when you will the maximum.
What is that contradiction?
So, for example, a choice architecture that does not do that would require free riding, or it would coerce people within the state. So it's not enough to say we coerce people to lead to a better end for humanity, because that does not treat humanity as an end in itself. It says that it's only instrumental to more humanity. So you're not valuing humanity at all. It's a fungible good. You're not saying that it's good enough itself. You're saying it's good for its maximization purposes. Also, the Kant 2 and Kant 3 arguments interact with the idea that, like, implementation determines the maxims we adopt.
What is this policing discourse bad argument?
It says that if it's true that the AF has some good ideas about certain things, then cutting off discussion of the app entirely merely because I make some assumption that might be bad is itself repugnant because you preclude discussion until I'm in a perfect speaking position, so that excludes discussion of ideas that may be good. For example, many abolitionists may not have supported women getting the right to vote, but that would not justify not listening to the abolitionist viewpoint in, like, the United States merely because they also held a bad idea.
That's fine. Is there anything in the app that would exclude me reading a counterplan?
No.
Okay. Does the app care about autonomy?
Well, yes.
It does. Does autonomy impact your app?
I don't know what you mean by impact.
Okay.
But yeah, Kant is all about it.
Stop. 11 seconds.
Yep.
I'm just going to put it all in one doc. Is that okay?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't take too long.
Call the Fort of Iran.
What's the order?
Order is 2 obviously.
Sure. And just to be clear, office and seat counterplan, right?
Yep.
Okay, got it. I can't wait.
What was that?
I can't wait.
Cool. I'm just going to enlarge the size of the text on my document just because it's so small I can't read it. Okay. Everyone ready? Will you say slow or clear if necessary? The value is justice. Shannon's consistent with her principle independent of kids' reaching value, happiness, life, and death is on the logic of the worst possible evil system. It destroys the subject itself. Patterson, death is evil not because Christ is future about death himself is evil because the ontologically destroys the stomach and calculates about better responsible life. Death is destructive types of who we are and rejected life cannot be one insisted in expression. Ultimate value for the subject is unjust activities. The cosmic harm agent preconditioned responsibility should help performance. The period of actions agent responsible for periods of agent responsibility. Any omission has lower degree of action. The corresponding action would it be by saying I couldn't help but bring my copy over you because of being inspired to be by building the copy possessing action perhaps even therefore something which is less responsible. This means no activation stage for governments and legally implied ethical prohibitions inherently contain judgment of intent, especially through medicine, where once professional obligations which may be administering prescribing resulting treatment is seen in the case of euthanasia. There are wills survived with hostility towards euthanasia. The common view that euthanasia is morally objective public view that in some cases withdrawing resulting treatment are morally purposeful. Once cases involving direct intention being about death are properly distinguished from cases where this is just not present the idea of pacification neo-Nazi and threatening to healthcare professionals in cases they want classes morally acceptable as they may safely do so without any risk that they find themselves also inadvertently nor simply object to this case do not have the social structure which is essential to euthanasia. The do no harm principle justified under rule utilitarian grounds. Bellevue. Bob goes to Dr. Bob is imperfect. Bob finds that value. Bob applies logically compatible with other six. Patients were all dying source for killer. According to accused right things Jews kill Bob and harvested organs for the benefit of sick patients with otherwise die. One move to the open utilitarian is value rules rather than individual action, right action, the action that follows the rule, which in general doctors do not harvest the way patients have higher utility in general. I know the absence of utilitarian, but it still applies arguments is an actual specific argument to the medical field. None of the outframe cards are very specific to the medical field. I contextualize what a doctor's obligation is, which means it's always going to come before the half framework. Also, you can very clearly see that there's this this illustrates that there's no activation in the issue of governance. If a doctor lets that patient die, they're still morally culpable. There is an activation stage because if a doctor which you kill their patient, that would always be worse than letting that patient die in the first. And taking working to them auto violate the do not harm principle in medical professional are sworn to use to IBA physician. Mentioned do not harm according to the gift taking work to the donor. Being harm that person does some more monetary gift to the donor. Are we harming non-felony work take away the act to the gift of life made the act will transplant more questionable act. Moral policy is a majority of the family unless you can't afford or generate dysfunction. The case turn to the act. You take away the entire purpose of giving that gift of life, which is what is being a better universalizable principle. So the counterplan that I'm going to highly illustrate that I universalize the gift of life, which is a better universalizable principle for the round itself, and I contend the pursuing sense principle violates principle premium no nocere or do no harm. Welcome to if others fail to follow people switch to path body, they take into infringe on autonomy, mistake, take benefit of right body, integrity, society, the affirms right, need to not have their body invaded, but not perfect except for work in the build of consumption, because that will violate that right at least 30 or 7 times works through my body is fading patient, so we take work to death with not consent to infringe on her against me. However, not talking to non fit rights to evasion, you can see constitution that construct is all about autonomy. So that means that at least 30% of the time you're going to be violating autonomy. This is not a universalizable precision. No, this principle because there is going to be cases in which people do not specify in which case that would be violating the principle behind Kantian's arguments, and also your presumed consent still violates this idea of still violates Kantian principle because just because you say that you are going to opt out does not necessarily mean you opt out. In the system of the affirmative world, the plan. Okay, let me make this argument very clear. In the plan text, it just says that if you say you were opting out, you get priority on this list of getting organs. So logically, it would follow that as soon as you got those organs, if you were deceased, you could say you could opt out after you got the organs. That means the act is still following a logical contradiction because it does not bind you to opting out. You can change your mind during your lifetime, which means the act is still a logical contradiction. Only a form of mandated choice would still maybe violate this, but at best your offense is not unique because you do not ensure that those people are going to donate their organs, meaning that at best, since you don't defend conscription, you still let people opt out of the system, which means your offense on free riders is not unique because you literally give people the best avenue to free ride on the system because you can make it so that they can look like they are not actually free riders, but then they can just say, ha, I'm actually a free rider. So if that your case lets them disguise their methods of evilness. Cool. Counterplan text. the afterwards, the after-limited system mandates choice requiring all adult citizens to register whether they wish to donate to organs after death without a relative choosing them. 3, mandate choice require adults regardless of the wish they donate to organs they are not permitted to fail to register. The wishes individuals can let relatives have the final say question about organization before tax return, driver's license forms, and so forth. It can be required that before returns the question about organization answers individuals fail to decide would be penalized. Registration must be as inclusive as possible. Mandating choice would be accompanied by extensive public education, so people are informed about the need for choice. Public information education would be pro-donation. 3, this leads the question how many choice can accommodate the record of good and bad reasons for choosing, and still allow people to choose freely to be proposed. Mandating choice where education pro-donation literature would be far more directed with the attention of inclining in favor of donation. Those strong objections also go expressed in the counterplan, but let me make this very clear, man. It's always going to be best. This is the best universalized principle. I literally make everyone make the choice about whether or not they donate their organs. That means 100% of the time, people make their own decisions. That is always going to be the best under a universalizable principle. Because you talk about why infringing on autonomy is bad. I'm going to do the weighing analysis right now. Free riders is at best non-unique because of the very clear reason why the plan still allows for free riding. And mandated choice might do that too, but at least I make every single person make a decision, meaning I will never be overriding on anyone's autonomy because everyone makes that individual choice. Next. Case. Oh, and I guess this is stuff why the asked for autonomy. Presumed consent is worse for autonomy. First of all, presumed consent doesn't force you to decide. If you don't decide, choice is forced upon you, as if you did make a choice that more people would have their preferences violated, since there are many people who reject or organization, but when you register an objection, the autonomy violation to them is either the same since the effort to register an objection to the world, the plan is the same, and the effort to register choice in the world is steeper or it's worse since their organs are harvested against their wishes. Case. Presumed consent reduces living donation, outweighs since living donation have better. Presumed consent may limit the number of kidneys from living donors, study exam transplantation, 44 countries that presume consent, and 20 countries that require explicit consent harm to transplantation from living donors. Such a decline because of transplant living donors have better survival rates and waiting time. No lower number of transplants may be due to the perception that the need for organs has been met. You should provide evidence for gravity because it is double your sample size. Also, it took into account a 10-year linear regression analysis. That's always going to be better. Also, it's way more specific because it takes into account countries between explicit and presumed. So that means it's going to be comparative analysis. That means it's always going to be better than yours, because when I talked about the difference between presumed and mandated choice when they were implemented, showed that mandated choice was better. Also, the quality versus the quantity analysis. My argument is very specific how living donors are going to be decreased and the affirmative world. That's always going to be bad because you can see across the image that you cannot universalize the will letting someone die. That means that's going to be the worst impact on the act. Because I said when I slap you, it's not going to still be bad. You say it is not for the reason I think. So it best is puts you in a double bind because either A, my frame is true and consequences is bad, or B, it isn't. And you can see that slapping you would still be bad just for a different reason than the one that you justify in the Kanye see, because I cannot universalize the will slapping me on the wells, let alone letting universalize the will that everyone people will die. So that means that my use of allow things very clear to the after lay out any of the extensions to making all this stuff out of the AC argument to be relevant. So off the arguments on the path. Your argument is just also the my really to turn is controlling interlink to your ask because you should say that it has to be universalized, willing principle, but mine is specific to the medical field, which is always going to be the more direct relationship between the patient and the doctor. It's always going to be better than yours. Also, you talk about the availability of organs and how universalizing to donate is going to be important. But at least I give everyone that choice to donate. You talk about how autonomy is important, how presumed consent would do that. But I talk about how presumed consent is a worse violation of that. You talk about free riding, but at least mandated choice would marginally solve. Then people, if you are decreasing donors, then that is going to be less people who are getting organs. And the thesis of your plan is that more people like universalize be getting organs is good. So, yeah.
Okay. Can you read everything you didn't read?
Sure. It was just parts of the countdown.
Whatever.
Wow, that's light.
Are you ready?
Sorry. Yeah, you can start.
Okay. Status of the counterplan?
Unconditional.
Okay, cool. So, Then let's talk about the do no harm principle.
Sure.
So what does this entail? What is a violation under the do no harm principle?
Sure. So essentially, the doctors, as soon as they graduate medical school, there's something that they are sworn to called the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah, that's
This says
fine.
that in the
What does it mean
absence,
you can't do?
this shows that doctors can only make decisions based on the decisions of their patients. So it is an argument that essentially when someone does not make a choice, you should default to the less harm possible that we call to the corpse of the body.
Wait,
This
so,
is not...
whoa, so why is, if I want to donate my organs, but in the world of an opt-in system, I would not be able to do that?
There's you don't give reasons why someone couldn't opt in. And I don't, and
So
that
then
way,
you
those
also
arguments
don't
would be
give
solved
reasons
by
why
the
somebody
counterclaim.
couldn't opt out.
I do not defend the status quo. I
Sure,
defend the
but you
counterclaim.
also don't give reasons why somebody can't opt out, right? So how is this unique? Why is it a violation if you have the
That's not
possibility of
true.
opting
I don't
out?
say it's not why someone can't opt out. I say that the app makes that wrong assumption that someone...
Okay, so under the do no harm principle,
No, I
if
say
I'm
that-
like
okay.
dying and
Under the
and, like, you need to
Hippocratic Oath,
resuscitate
it is
me.
worse. Okay, the Wilkinson evidence very clearly contextualizes that mistaken taking is worse than
Right, cool.
mistaken
No,
not
I
taking.
understand that argument. Mistaken taking is worse than mistaken donation. So if I'm dying on the ground and need to be resuscitated, is it worse that you make a judgment about my will for me by resuscitating me rather than just, and possibly harming me rather than letting me die?
Okay, that's an extraneous example because first, the end of that scenario would be maximizing a consequence, which is exactly what my argument is. We always need
Wait,
to
so
be...
the standard is Utah?
Okay, my standard is a rule consequence of the standard. It is a side...
Wait, where do you justify
I read the
rule
Patterson
consequentialism?
evidence, which very specifically
Yeah,
talks about
Patterson just says death is bad. Why does that in any way mean rule consequentialism?
Okay, Patterson says death is bad.
Yes.
The rest of the cards in the framework go to talk about how this is just a side constraint on our ethical theories. Patterson, the Bellevue evidence very
Wait, so
specifically...
is it a side constraint or is it not a side constraint? How does the standard operate? Ends or
no
means
harm
based?
principle is a side constraint on our ethical theory. It talks about how, in terms of the intent of our actions, we can never take
So
out...
it is the intent. So if I kill one person...
No,
just
it's
say
not,
if
sorry.
I-
It's not the intent. The argument
what
is just
is it?
that violating the autonomy, even of a dead corpse's body, is still a violation of that person's wishes in the case of the state.
Yeah, so let's say the violation of a dead person's body prevented extinction. What do we do?
A violation of a dead person's body prevented extinction?
Yes.
I would argue that
Ends or
Patterson,
means based?
Patterson
Very
says we
simple
should
question.
maximize life. This is like
What?
the threshold. This is threshold rule consequential.
Wait, this is threshold rule consequential. That doesn't sound like a thing. What is that?
Sure. So essentially, you can make I can make arguments about how if there is like a large enough impact, then that could override the right to the do no harm principle.
A large
but absent
enough impact.
absent that weighing mechanism, we would have to respect the side constraint. Because,
Sure.
like you said,
So
about
let's talk about
resuscitating someone-
mandated choice real fast.
Sure.
So let's say I'm like a Jehovah's Witness and I don't like interacting with the state whatsoever.
If you're a
You
Jehovah-
force me to do that, right? So
If
how
you're a
is that not
Jehovah's
coercive?
Witness, you wouldn't mandate with the state, and you would get forced to have your organs teared out, which is exactly.
Yes, but I have to use the state's opt-out procedure, right?
which is what I'm criticizing.
Okay. Starting from. So wait, how do people opt out in the world of the counterpoint?
People are forced to specify whether or not they
Yes,
want
but
someone
in the
to-
state's mechanism for choosing, right?
the state's mechanism for choosing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm confused by the question.
That's fine. What is the argument why I don't solve free riding?
Why you don't solve free riding?
Yeah.
Sure. So the argument's pretty logical. In the world of the affirmative, people can choose whether or not they want to donate their organs. So you check a box. You are not bound to what you say. Anytime throughout your life, you can change your mind. Especially, you defend 100% consent. So sure, families could not opt out. But the argument is that someone could say, "Oh, I want to opt out. I want to donate my organs," and then because they know they're getting sick and they know they're going to need organs. So under your system, it would logically follow that if they're in the "I don't want to opt out" vote, I don't want to opt in. If I don't want to opt in vote, then they would not get organs. So obviously, they're just going to roll with your system. As soon as they get those organs, your system says nothing about keeping them bound to that policy. Someone could just opt out afterwards and have taken advantage of the system, and you provide them that avenue. At least in the world of, at least in my world, we can expose them as bad people. In your world, we
Dude,
can't.
what's the impact of exposing people as bad?
Sure, it's not universalizable to let people take
So what's
advantage
this
of
gift of life argument?
the gift of life. Sure, so my argument is that would be a better universalizable principle to have everyone give this gift of life to people. Because that at least is
Wait,
like,
so does that mean that like the state shouldn't help poor people because that way we can all be charitable and give stuff as a gift?
no, I wouldn't say that that's true. Because I'd say that we
Then
could,
what
like,
would you say?
sorry, like in terms of what? Sorry, you like rephrase
You say
the
that gifts are important. The status of something as a gift is important. Does that mean that the state should just not help poor people so that we
But-
can all be charitable?
But
and
you do
give
not
gifts?
give organs to people. See, I feel like you keep conflating these frameworks to me. I contextualize that life is the most
No,
important
I'm asking a
thing.
more general question about the principle of gift.
No, I mean, I'd say a government would probably still give to, like, its people, but I'd say it was the government that's giving that gift in the first place. I'd say that, sure, we're forced to pay taxes, but, like, I'd say that, like, that doesn't stop us from giving money to people. saying the app does.
The return you read on the app is a turn to Aberdeen Gay, right? You say you actually increase organ donation more.
I don't say I increase organ donation. I say that mandated choice is preferable to a system, or explicit consent is preferable to a system of presumed consent for a few arguments. First, the large meta-analysis that was conducted subsumes yours and includes countries where it was unsuccessful. Aberdeen Gay's cherry-picked evidence is awful. And my evidence goes into an analysis between the live donors versus the dead donors, and talks about how live donors' organs are far more important. How essentially your organs have to be perfect for them to get donated, because any absence of that, the risk of life, the risk of death at an organ transplantation procedure is so high. Sometimes high as like 85% in certain heart transplant procedures. So essentially, your organs need to be top notch for them to get donated. So as we age, we know that our organs start to decrease in quality. So the argument is that if you just presume consent, people are just going to assume that that system is what is in state. So essentially, they will never donate their organs until the time of death. So either A, their organs will already be bad, which means that we could never use them. Well, not bad, poorer than when they were younger, and we wouldn't be able to use them anyways. Or B, you decrease dead donors because people just become opposed to the system as like a system of like body snatch.
Okay, I have 37 seconds left.
Sure. Are you new off or?
Yep. Orders new off, counterplan, NC, AC.
How'd I know? One sec. Where's my other pen? Has anyone seen my other pen?
It's right there. Yeah.
Wait, can you say it one more time?
New off, counterplan, NC, AC.
It's a new off the theory show.
It is.
Wow. You want to flash that to me, bud?
Okay. I mean, this is not exactly what I'm going to read. The intro is being step.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. As long as you write it down.
Yeah, I will write it down after I say it.
Thank you. So, could you repeat the order just one more time after the theory show? Sorry, I was still kind of in shock.
The order is theory shell, counterplan, NC, AC.
Cool.
Okay.
What's the theory shell, right?
Pull new off for Jonas.
Oh.
Why give you the extra prep? You only had 11 seconds anyway.
Run. Very strategic. New off for Jonas, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell me when it's open.
There's some text there. Oh, that's right. Ready when you are.
Okay. A interpretation, debaters who justify threshold standards, for example, threshold rule utilitarianism of threshold deontology, or the do no harm principle, specify an explicit weighing mechanism for evaluating impacts in terms of strength of link versus a means-based violation or an ends-based violation, either which comes first and a specific threshold by which they'll delineate impacts. B, it's a violation. You do not do this. You're extremely sketchy and cross-examination about impact framing under your interpretation, which means mine is comparatively better. C, is the standard. One is stable. It's an explicit standard text that contextualizes and weighing mechanism for evaluating offense into standard can function as lens to which contention arguments and link, and thus what counts as offense. So not specifying a burden or standard that's very clear in how we apply offense to it means you have a collection of framework crimes with the cohesive account of what constitutes a moral action that enables you to shift on the 2 and R and dealing terms of the framework and defense response by filling out different standards, subsuming my framework feels negative, my feels affirmative charge by forcing me to link different arguments and never answer each individual, so I can never group and cover. This is supercharged with the fact that you have things like death is worse ontological evil, but you don't frame how those arguments in the first, for example, death is worse ontological evil, then it would follow that more death is worse, but you say that we have means-based constraints, for example, do no harm, which means it's not very unclear how it weighs. More importantly, you say a threshold, but you don't specify threshold for delineating that. It's impossible for me to actually weigh off the fact that the standards here, framework-based division of ground impossible, making the right resolvable. Also, supercharged, if you get 6 minutes and 2 and R group and you weighing based on whatever reconceptualization I outline, you can leverage the standard warrants in ways that I cannot predict. So that kills substantive clash, but you can also kick whatever response you do not want to engage in, even if they logically far for standard, by extending other warrants that will contradict with that. He's a voter, fairness is a voter, debate is competitive, adjudicates wins and losses, so I don't debate offers structural advantage. Substance is already skewed, all my time strategies to be forcing a hold you accountable theories, and place you supercharged by 1 year time. Please further drop the argument as possible, because something you did not do in terms of weighing the standard. It's also unique if you drop the argument debate in this instance, because you did not specify it, because it's something you didn't do, which means it's incoherent to drop arguments, because there was not argument dropped at all. Now, counterpoint. You say to defend the counterpoint unconditionally means if I win a perm, I win. Perm, you both. Made a choice for those who are left behind fail to report you the problem system we use presume consent. Kill. Made a choice for but we still expect that some people fail to register. People dropped out. Give them driver's licenses. Those who fail to complete counts from 4% but not be the appropriate plot to follow regards. And also, there's a dissat turn in 4% never actually exists. The implementation leads to misinformation. Kill. People who would be forced to answer the donation question with lack of information necessary to make truly informed decisions. Over the best self-belief about donation. I transportation by check one off. But don't check the other box and know the whole truth. The choice will be morally tainted. This is how ways are often because it means that we are taking advantage of the fact that people don't know enough about the systems to make them make a choice. My argument is comparatively better because at least we ensure that we are not violating once again the will. You always get the option option to opt out in the affirmative world, so it's comparative better. Also, even if you can check a box, it's really limiting, but it doesn't take into account the nuance of your prison. For example, your Jehovah's Witness, you would not want to interact with the state to begin with, which means you have to still use the state to opt in or opt out. Procedure means it's violation of your capacity to set end, because it's against your end to actually interact with the state to begin with. That's comparative worse because it constitutes lying. You are forced to lie to the state by saying you wish to value the procedure, and lying is a perfect duty because everyone lied, then nobody would be deceived, which means it denies the contradiction of the predicate lie, which means it comparative worse violation under my standard and autonomy standard as well, because it proves that it's a violation. More importantly, it actually doesn't increase donation length. Lawrence, made interest organization has tried to invade in Texas, Virginia. Virginia, a quarter of the population refused state of preference in Texas, or made a condition of obtaining a driver's license. 80% choose not to donate, or outweighs even so solve the deficit. Yeah, the problem is that mandate choice is literally so bad that every state that tried it abandoned it. Now to the NC framework. First, my favorite control the link is that we have conflicting claims to autonomy. It's not the only one to resolve it by resolving the situation for freedom. We can see the content analysis indicate that is the best way to make the answer value of our end. The second argument is no harm at all. The do no harm principle. We all could have opted out to begin with. You have not specified the harm of not donating when somebody would have donated is not comparatively worse, which means that it's all. Which means that there's at least the point at which that is the link mitigation. The fact because they could have opted out in the system, whereas you are proactively hurting people. I don't help them, which contradicts the content duty of beneficence. You can see the 8 point under the Eden card, which indicates that donations is a perfect duty. Means it's imperative. More important that we do that. More importantly, my favorite position is an epistemic frame of reference for determining these kind of arguments. First, it means control the eternal link. Now, off the line by line. First, you say, now I'll agree with your Patterson evidence that death is the worst ontological harm, but the Chappelle and the Chappelle that autonomy matters. But now, off the medical field weighing, no, con should apply either way, because it's a question of the specific maximum implementation. The maximum has to be determined a priori. You can see the concept analysis of moral substitute a priori, otherwise it couldn't be prescriptive, or in the first place, because the material cannot give us reasons for action, which means that we have to exclude the regularities of the actual implementation, because those would not be a maximum that people can actually will in the first place, because they are not a priori. They do not exist independent of our independent perceptions of them. In addition, after your gift of life turn is absurd, and because presumably that would mean that we wouldn't be able to help poor people just because we can't do that, but we can't because without prevent people doing a charity, but that's comparatively worse because then we contradict our duty of needs to rescue. So the ground down simply. Opt out. It's a comparatively worse violation. If ends matter, mine is comparatively better. So I'm turning on everywhere.
Okay. So I have 11 seconds left.
Yep.
That long 11 seconds will start now.
Take your time.
That's all you got. Okay. So the order is going to be theory, and then we'll go. Yeah, so it'll be theory, then case, and then maybe the counterclaim. Probably counterclaim.
Theory, case, counterclaim.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Be clear when you're switching from off to on.
oh yeah, for sure.
You never are.
Oh. Oh yeah, I probably should have said next off. That would have been a good idea. Okay. All right. So.
You're adorable, Jonas.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. Time starts now.
Is this a speech?
Yep. All right. On the shelf. First, drop the arc, Bruce, set of spread for the series, since Brown can't be one on it. This is verified by the exposure series, the circuit came after we drop the for the series, where's the back bases, first educate tracks, self to key that we get, otherwise fair, or it's theory, nothing else, rather than moving self to way, a prop, the strategic status, most likely to most practice used since everyone's first concerns with my facts, also we verified by the commands found for bad theory, like most numbers by properly key to theory, since the purpose to create the best norms, 2, drop the curve sauce, 100% abuse since proof, the abuse practice for the round, you should vote, so defaults was not putting on 3 since the initiator's practice burns proofs, the voting issue, third, the impact 3 should be 4% times 2 if I argument would be dealt with at the same time it took to prevent 3. There's no impact for us since they lose their abuse claim, and double line. Either A, the abuse claim is short and dumb development, in which case you wouldn't win anyways since it isn't warning enough to vote on, or B, the abuse argument is long, in which case it is a strategic run, short shell, and exclude the argument dropping, winning the time trade-off. Second, time trade-offs never a voting issue since there are question issues, not abuse theory, should only correct structural issues since skill issues are about person working, not judging function. Third, this is the only true specific situation since they have to make arguments about the same time in this case, not major balance important into this round, and first, and off deterrence, first to be verified people want to abuse, just have their arguments out, so 0 will never be work as a term for verification, which Jackson claims we didn't debate. Second, is reacting arguments still debaters since debaters won't run the argument state. 1/3, waiting 3, strategic get rid of position, even debaters drop, so it's still debaters to debaters running 4, obvious debaters 1 feature sure because competitors incentive from darts, punishment 5, everyone's arguments on this, which means he dislikes drop the debater will deter as well as the other two. So it risks offer reference every time. Too bad you don't read any reasons to drop the debater. You say it's illogical to drop the argument because you say that you say that it's something that I didn't do, but that's fine. If you still drop the NC, that will still solve for all the B's because then there's no more threshold the ontology argument to be claimed to be made. So that means that the only argument I will stand is the argument of how life is good because it's so fair. This is a function of the part of the NC to the framework on its own. So you can drop the argument. He doesn't make any claim that why you cannot drop the argument. He just says that it's illogical to do so because it's something I didn't do, but it's because it's something I didn't do part of that position. So you would drop the position because that would solve for fairness. Anyways, next. Go to, and also I don't get a 3 NR to make weighing arguments. So the fact that you didn't make any reasons to drop the debater, you shouldn't vote on theory. And the fairness and education that we would have from actually debating substance would be far outweighed than the fairness and education we would have for just voting for on theory. Next, go to the case. You can see the Patterson that life is the most important thing ontologically. This is the evidence. This is the argument to be that we can universally will that we should not let people die. You can see that this controls the interpersonal links in the case because you can see my argument that how in cross-examination said that if I slapped you, that would still be an impact because we cannot universally if we will slap everyone. That means that I'm winning arguments about why people are dying in the affirmative world, and that's going to be game over. You can see that this is the most important thing because ontology is the study of the state of being before I can actually recognize my relations with other people. I have to be alive myself because I cannot have a relation. I cannot have an imperfect duty to someone else if I am dead in the first place. You say that those obligations are necessary to have that relationship, but we can never have that if we weren't alive in the first place. That means that you can see this argument 100%. That's going to be game over. That means life is the most important. You're conceding a turn-on case that shows that presumed assembly to let life in the original world. You also see that if I'm winning, that more people are going to die in the affirmative world. We can never universally will letting people die. You can see that is the strongest violation to God. So. Extend the Renner analysis study with a cross-provision analysis done over the period of 10 years, and that the reduction of living donors and dead donors. Renner is flowed on the solvency of the case. This is on Aberdeen and Gay. Sure. Extend the study with a period. It was a period of 12 years. It's called Renner's 2010 was the best analysis. You can see that you should prefer the evidence over the Aberdeen and Gay evidence because it was cross-provision analysis. Also, you can see that you should prefer my evidence because it's a comparison between explicit and presumed consent, which is the counterplan, which means that you can see that my argument is that the counterplan is always going to be net beneficial to the AC as per the comparative evidence. You can see that this is an independent photo because my evidence very specifically shows that the counterplan is better to presume consent. That means that all of your arguments of the counterplan are not going to be matter because your arguments are pretty ignorant. Also, the fact that you concede a turn, even if you're winning offense on, even if you're winning, that the counterplan doesn't necessarily solve for presumed consent. You can see that you would lead to a reduction in organs. So as long as we have conflicting pieces of evidence that show that mandated choice might lead to an increase in presumed consent, and that means you should still vote on the counterplan because you can see that life is the most important thing. So people do not die in the world of the counterplan. People only die in the world of the app. You can see that you lead to a reduction in organs. I might still increase organs marginally, but I don't lead to a reduction in organs. Oh yeah, so that's the counterplan debate. Also, sorry, you say perm to the counterplan, but the perm is illogical. You can see the argument that autonomy is the most important thing. You can see that you cannot perm the counterplan because my argument is that there is an autonomy violation. That you would because if you presume that people want to donate their organs, my argument is that you should never presume anything. You would make arguments about Jehovah's Witnesses, but you can see that this would be worse than the system of presumed consent because you say that you let people opt out, but you can see that you say that those people never want to work within the system of the state, which means that they would never be able to. They would always get their organs taken out in your system of presumed consent. That is 100% conceded. Also, you can see that this means that the autonomy the violation would be worse in the counterplan than it would be in the app, because at least I make people make that decision before they can do anything, before Jehovah's Witnesses could function in their part of the field. You don't. You just make that assumption, which means that you never force them to become part of the system. At least I force them to be part of the system and don't get their organs jacked out of the body. You can see that would be better than a world in which we would just presume their consent. Also, on the counterplan, you can see that this is the most universalizable principle, whether or not that I'm winning, that it solves, because I force everyone to make a decision. You can see that at least 30% of the time you would be wrong in the world of the app, which means that it is a better universalizable principle under Kant, which means the intent of the counterplan is always going to be better than the affirmative. That is a conceded argument, because at least in the world of mandated choice, you force everyone to make that choice. You never make assumptions about anyone. You can see that the app says autonomy is important, which means that at least the counterplan would never violate anyone's autonomy. You can see that very specific arguments in the counterplan about why autonomy would be worse in the world of the app than would it be in the neck. But anyways, so round breaks down really easily. You're dropping the argument on theory. You don't read a single reason to drop the debater, which means at best you don't vote me down. It's just something I didn't do. It is not a reason to vote me down. He does not make that implication on the shell, which means you're not voting on theory because there's no reason to vote me down for it. Also, you're going to be voting for me because you can see that the mandated choice, the intent of the counterplan, would always solve better for the world of the app than with the app, and you can see you can't burn.
Before I start prep, I need you to drop the argument stuff.
Sure. Sorry.
I'd like you to tell me what you did with it.
Sure. Sorry, I think I accidentally hopped over in the bottom. Yeah. Oh, wait, that way. That's why I was in the. those, I read those, and I read those. And I did not read them.
So what did you read?
I read everything in the drop the debate section. Drop the argument section. Okay. General, trying to read off insurance. Okay.
Starting drop. Okay. Order's going to be an overview on theory, and then we're going to start with the extension of the drop the debater argument off my shell, and then his arguments. Alright. Is everyone ready? The overarching problem with the drop the debate or drop the argument debate is that you have conceded that in fact I did have reason to drop the argument and that they are specific to the app. Extend the argument that substance is already skewed but alter my time strategy to hold you accountable. So theory is the only thing you can do. Moreover, it's supercharged by 1 year time constraints because you get the ability to because the 1 year is a especially short speech because standard between a 7 to 6 minute speech between it is supercharged by 1 year time constraints. You prefer this on strength like the ace one has been 100% conceded. So mitigatory defense and your other drop the argument of reasons is a reason to your Athens issue. The second but relevant consideration is specific to the 1 AR, which means if your arguments are less specific in this question, then mine necessarily come first. Now let's go to your arguments you make. First, you drop the argument of the strategic incentive around frivolous theory, but no, if you have not contested the standards level of my argument, which means that it is not frivolous theory in the first place, which means that this begs the question of why that argument comes first. Now, if you're weighing, you say probability, because strategic incentives are more likely to determine the practice of use, but no, you have a strategic incentive to run a vague standard. That is the original argument of the abuse of the theory debate, which means it was irresolvable because I cannot engage the argument in the first place. The second argument is that you say that dropping yourself 100% of the abuse. No, I only need to go for one argument that you cannot evaluate who is winning substance if substance is skewed because I had to waste my time and strategy to hold you accountable. Even if time trade-offs are not a issue, strat trade-offs are a voting issue because I had to alter my strategy. I did not intend to read theory in this round. It's because you were at a vague standard that I had no choice to do that, which means that any risk you cannot evaluate substance is a reason to err affirmative on this question because at least you can vote on theory. Whereas if you vote on substance, you may not be making the wrong decision, which means it's controlling to all your drop the debate or justifications. You also err on this question because you do not impact your argument specifically against my arguments. So you err toward conceded arguments in this question. Now let's go to the arguments. Then you say the impact of theory should be proportional to time scale. There's no way to determine proportionality. I spent a minute in the 1 hour reading the show. You spent maybe 2 minutes of the NC reading the NC, which means that it's really hard to tell who's actually winning the time period. So it's probably not a reason to go for either way. The framing issue is whether or not I had altered my strategy from normal, which is what I was forced to do by the theory shell. Now let's go to time trade-offs. First you say that the abusive arguments is long, in which case strategic run a short shell and exclude the argument by dropping it, which means you win the time trade-off. But no, it begs the question of whether or not I am winning the time trade-off. Either way, I had less a capacity to go for the counterplay and less capacity to engage the NC in the first place, which means my strategy was altered irrespective of whether or not my time was altered, which means you're ignoring an important plank. Then you say time trade is never a voting issue because they're a question of efficiency. That is non-unique to my interpretation. Even if you did not violate a theoretical standard, I could still win because I'm more efficient than you, Jonas, but it doesn't mean that it's not a reason to vote on theory. The third argument is that it only treats specific situations because you could have made arguments about time skew in this instance, but yes, I did make arguments about time skew in this instance because you had a vague standard I can now engage your argument. Now if your deterrence, I did not read a deterrence warrant for drop the debate, which means it begs the question, you don't have offense of the question. Also because the presupposes that it's a question of norm setting, you err toward in-round skew in this instance. I definitely have to alter my strategy in this instance, so even if you supercharge abuse later, it is very clear that my strategy was already altered in this argument. Now, the only response that you have to the second argument is that there's no argument to be dropped in the first place. You say that you drop the NC, that's enough, and not enough, but I will win that layer of debate because the point is that the NC links to the counterplane, which use my strategy on other layers because I do not know how it interacts with the other advocacy which you have defended unconditionally, which means drop the argument is not sufficient in this instance. Prefer the app in this question because you do not do the weighing analysis that's necessary to imply that the NC is sufficiently to drop it. It's a question of engaging your advocacy, the way the NC interacts with your advocacy. I cannot engage your advocacy if I do not know the net benefits to it, which means it's comparative first. So extend the interpretation, which is that the affirmative is having that if the average is a threshold standard, like threshold down or threshold util, you must have a weighing mechanism, and it's specified in the speech for how to weigh impacts back to the standard, like the Juno Harm principle. Within the stable advocacy principle, because that's the way to shift out of things that can rise key to fairness, because otherwise it distracts the round is in a business matter with vague, make it resolvable. The round breaks down very simply. Defense on your arguments means you err toward conceded arguments on strength of lane. They are specific to the 1 AR, and your arguments are just not applicable in this instance. Good round.